So Steve Jones has kindly challenged me to a white hot lap where I try and do an XC loop and figure out whether an athlete can still put in the same amount of effort on an e-bike as they can on a rider assisted bike. Well, guess it's time for another versus. So my name's Anna Cipullo. I have been a presenter for EMBN for the last 2 years. I am a former elite XC racer, have ridden a World Cup once, but now I'm pretty much a weekend warrior. I'm 5'1", I weigh about 9 stone. My bike of choice here on the E-assisted side is the white E-Lite and a Bosch SX motor. With 55 Newton meters in there. And for my non-assisted bike, or my rider-assisted bike from EMBN is my Canyon Lux LT, which is 120mm up front and no motor whatsoever. And the task of today is to go and ride the Blue Loop here at Forest of Dean Cycle Centre and see if I can still get the same workout on these both very different bikes. Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Right, I'm at the start of the loop, start of an 11.3k or 7-mile loop of ups and downs. I expect this to be quicker. Will I have more fun on it? I don't know. It's EMBN, so let's start on the e-bike, shall we? Let's go. Oh! So I've got the Bosch SX, which is 55 Newton meters, which will put out the same output as the CX with 85 Newton meters, but you have to really put the cadence in, which is what I'm doing right now. Let's do a little bit of single track now. Whew. Right, I'm on the climb. I'm getting more tired and I'm doing a less speed, so I'm averaging about 17, 19 kilometers an hour now, which suggests I'm putting too much effort in, so I need to up the cadence more. Heart rate currently at 175. Let's try and recover on this descent a little bit. Stop. 23.49 kilometers an hour, 966 kilometers in 24:41.2. Okay, I'm sufficiently warmed up and sufficiently muddy, so let's get lap 2 on the XC bike done. Wow, bit of a slower, unexciting start on the XC bike. Let's get climbing again. Ooh. Oh, maybe my max heart rate is still 190. 183 BPM. First time I've seen that in a really long time. These switchback corners are much easier to do at 5 kilometers an hour than 15, unsurprisingly. What a difference though, hey? And now for a bit of recovery. Ooh. Although probably, not much recovery, because it's pretty hard to hold on to an XC bike if you haven't ridden one before. They're pretty wild sometimes. Yow! I am absolutely beat. I think it's time to lay down on the floor for a bit, have a drink, and maybe head off to the studio to decompress on all of this mad data. Okay, I think I've eaten enough cake to recover from those 2 laps, and I have a few stats for you. So it was a 9.66 kilometre loop with 211 metres of climbing. And on the Y-Eli, I did it in 24 minutes and 41 seconds. And the XE bike, 34 minutes and 48 seconds. Shaved nearly a whole 10 minutes off that by using the e-bike. But how much effort did it take on me? So I was averaging 23.5 kilometers an hour on the e-bike. So, you know, real close to the limit, which I'm quite proud of. Also proud that I averaged 16.5 kilometers an hour on the mountain bike, which is not bad for a loop that was 200 plus meters hilly. And my average heart rate on the e-bike was 168. Average heart rate on the XE bike was 175, and I maxed out at 178 on the e-bike and maxed out at 183 BPM on the XE bike, and I have not seen that number for a really long time. That was a big effort, and Garmin can confirm this was a big effort. I spent 86% of my lap in zone 5 on the XE bike, whereas I spent only 36% of my lap in zone 5 on my Y-Eli. 61% of that lap was in zone 4 though, so it was still a big effort, still lactic threshold on the e-bike, whereas it was 12% on the XE bike. Now, interestingly, Garmin also gives me an aerobic and an anaerobic score out of 5. So on the e-bike, it was 3.9. So it is still pretty highly aerobic, but only a score of 1 on the anaerobic side. But on the XE bike, I'm only getting a score of 2.2 anyway for the anaerobic side. But on the XE bike, the aerobic score was 5, like literally 5 out of 5. This is VO2 max workout. I probably put a bit too much effort into the XE bike there, but hey, I'm competitive and I really wanted to see what sort of time I could get. And finally, interesting number here is Garmin gives you a load score. So this is a number which effectively quantifies how much oxygen is going to be used in the afterburn of an activity. So how much effort your body needs to go to put in order to recover from an effort. So it gives you a quantifiable score of how strenuous an activity is. So on the e-bike, my load score was 144. Now, interestingly, if you're an elite athlete, you should be performing activities over 200, a score of 200, 5 times a week. That's what an elite athlete would be putting in, sometimes more so. So to bear in mind that I'm on an e-bike in turbo mode, that is very close. So it is a decent workout still. Of course, on the XE bike, it was a lot more. It was 265. So what that says, what do we conclude from this? Nothing we don't know already. A non-assisted bike is going to be much more effort. It's going to burn more calories. It's going to be more aerobic. It's going to be more workout for your legs. And if you are an elite athlete trying to improve your fitness and your strength, then a non-assisted bike is going to be more beneficial for you. However, we are not all elite athletes. And that load score was pretty close to 200. But what is probably more relevant for most of us to talk about in that load score is that more load means more strenuous, which means more recovery time. And that's the difference often between us with jobs and families and athletes who have that sport as their job, where they can recover. When I did that XE loop, it took me a couple of days to recover from that. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a good 2 days to recover from it at least. Whereas had I have done it on the e-bike, I could have done it later that day, I could have done it the day after, and keep going. And I think that is a an interesting difference if you want to be riding more regularly and enjoy yourself. And I know it seems cliche to say that we do this to enjoy ourselves, but we do. And if you want to ride regularly, then an e-bike in turbo mode is going to give you more fun, more smiles per miles, sorry to say it, and more ability to go out and do it again and again and again. And for some of us, that is a win. If you want to ask me which bike I would choose to go out and do that lap, again, of course, is going to be the e-bike. On the XC bike, I wanted to throw up, I wanted to give up. I hated it, and that is not what I'm into anymore. My elite days are behind me. But guys, let me know down in the comments below of what you think of this kind of style of test of XC bike versus e-bike, and what my results put out for you. Did you learn anything from it? Let me know down in the comments below.